I'm 73 years old, and I don't know how to say this without sounding ashamed of myself, but I spent most of my life trying to be liked by people who never truly knew me. And now, Portia's, I can finally see what it cost me. I'm not telling you this because I want pity. Most mornings now, I wake up before the sun. Not because I'm disciplined, not because I have some routine. I wake up because my body doesn't let me sleep like it used to. Come on, I see the picture of my life.
To cry, weep, and sad. The house is still. The air feels cold even when the heater works. I sit up slowly, like an old door that creaks when you open it. I listen to the silence, and I wait for the feeling in my chest to settle. Sometimes I reach for my phone just to see a name on the screen, any name. Mostly it's nothing. And when there's nothing, I think about how many years I spent chasing noise. I was good at it, too. That's the worst part. I was good at being the kind of person other people approved of. I learned early how to read a room, how to adjust myself, how to smile at the right time, how to say what people wanted to hear. When I was young, I thought that was maturity. I thought that was being smart. No one teaches you that you can disappear slowly while doing everything right. I grew up in a house where love had rules. My father wasn't cruel. He worked hard. He brought food home. He paid bills. He didn't drink. People respected him. But he had a narrow idea of what a good son looked like. A good son didn't argue. A good son didn't embarrass the family. A good son did what was expected and didn't ask for more. When I was a boy, I loved drawing. I could sit for hours with a pencil. I drew faces, trees, rooms, anything I saw. I wasn't even that talented, if I'm honest, but it made me feel calm, like I had my own little world where I didn't have to perform. One day I showed my father a sketch I made of our old street. I thought he would be proud. He looked at it for a second, then handed it back like it was a useless paper. He said, "That won't feed you." That was it. Just one sentence. No yelling, no punishment, but something in me folded up quietly. After that, I still drew sometimes, but only when nobody was watching, like it was something shameful. That's how it began. Not with a big tragedy, just a small lesson. Whatever matters to you doesn't matter unless it impresses someone else. By the time I was in my 20s, I was already trained to chase respect, trained to avoid disappointment, trained to become the version of myself that people would clap for. I got a safe job, not because I wanted it, but because it sounded respectable when people asked, "What do you do? Where do you work? How much do you earn?" I learned very quickly that if you answered those questions the right way, people looked at you differently. They smiled wider. They nodded like you were already doing well in life. And I liked that. I liked it too much. I was always hungry for the feeling of being accepted. It was like a thirst I didn't understand. Every compliment felt like water, and every criticism felt like I was dying. So I built my whole life around avoiding criticism. That's an exhausting way to live, but you don't notice it at first, because it looks like ambition. It looks like responsibility. It looks like being a good man. I married at 27. Her name was Nadia. She had a calm presence, not quiet like she was afraid, quiet like she knew who she was. That's what drew me to her. When we were newly married, she used to talk to me in the evenings while she made tea. She would tell me small things about her day, a neighbor she met, a book she wanted to read, a memory from childhood. She didn't speak in a way that demanded attention. She just shared herself. I wish I could tell you I listened well. I didn't. I nodded, I smiled, I made the right sounds, but half my mind was always elsewhere, thinking about tomorrow, thinking about work, thinking about how I was seen, thinking about what someone might say if I failed. And she noticed. Of course she noticed. She'd stop mid-sentence sometimes and look at me. She'd say, "Are you really here right now?" I would laugh and say, "Of course," but I wasn't. I was physically present, but inside, I was always running toward the next moment where I could earn approval again. In my 30s, my career grew. I got promoted. I moved into a better office. I bought a nicer car than I needed. Each time I gained something, people treated me like I became more real. My parents told relatives proudly. Friends called me successful. Neighbors looked at me with a kind of respect that made my chest feel warm. And my wife, she adjusted around it. She supported me. She did what she could. But there was always this quiet distance growing between us, like two people living in the same house but facing different directions. I didn't notice it properly because distance doesn't make noise. Distance is silent. It grows in the gaps between small moments. It grows when you say, "Not now, I'm busy." It grows when you come home tired and you choose the television over a conversation. It grows when you forget what your partner told you and you don't even realize you forgot. And it grows when the other person stops trying to repeat themselves. I was always busy. That was my identity. If I wasn't busy, I felt useless. And if I felt useless, I panicked, because useless people don't get approved. Useless people don't get praised. I wanted to be someone people respected. So I became someone nobody could reach. We had a son, Amir. When he was little, he used to run to the door when he heard my car. He would grab my legs and laugh like I was the best thing in the world. That child loved me in a pure way. He didn't care about my promotions. He didn't care about my status. He just wanted me. And I treated that love like it would last forever. I treated it like it was guaranteed. I would say, "Later, son, let me change first. Later, I'm tired. Later, I have a meeting tomorrow." And later became normal. There was this one day, I remember it clearly because of how ordinary it was. Amir must have been around 8. He had a school event, some kind of little performance. Nadia reminded me days. She said, "Please come, he keeps asking." I promised. I truly meant it. But on that day, a client called. They wanted changes in a proposal. It was urgent. It was important. It was the kind of thing that made me feel needed. So I told Nadia, "I'll be a little late. Tell him I'm coming." She looked at me in a way I didn't want to look back at. She didn't argue. She just nodded. I arrived at the school when it was already over. Parents were leaving. Children were holding small certificates. Amir was standing near the gate with his costume still on. He saw me and didn't run. He didn't smile. He just looked at me like he was trying to understand who I really was. Nadia didn't say anything on the drive home. Amir didn't say anything either. That silence was heavier than anger. At home, Amir went to his room. Nadia started clearing dishes. I tried to act normal. I tried to make jokes. Finally, she said, without raising her voice, "Do you realize you missed it?" I said, "I know. I had to work." She turned to me and said, "You didn't have to. You chose to." That sentence hit me like a slap, not because it was rude, but because it was true. I went to bed that night thinking I would do better, but I didn't, because I still believed the world would reward me for sacrificing my presence. and I still believed my family would simply understand. I thought love was patient enough to wait. I didn't understand that love can get tired. Years passed like this. In my 40s, my status was high. People invited me to weddings. People asked my opinion. I became someone. But I was also becoming someone else, a stranger in my own home. Nadia stopped asking me to join her for tea. She stopped telling me small things. She stopped touching me with her arm when she walked past me. Not suddenly, slowly. That's what I mean when I say the cost came quietly. One day you realize your wife isn't telling you her thoughts anymore, and you can't even remember when it started. I would sometimes catch her looking out the window, not sad exactly, just distant. I wanted to ask what she was thinking, but I didn't know how, and I was afraid of what she might say. So I did what I always did. I stayed safe. I stayed busy. In my mind, I was doing everything for them. I was providing. I was building stability. I was making sure they had what they needed. And in a practical sense, I was. But I wasn't giving them the one thing they couldn't buy. Me. The real me. The me who could sit down and talk.